Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks so much for stopping by today. Today I am making a fun and bright art piece. This is not a card, but it can certainly be made into a card. It would just be a pretty thick one. And I am using some visible image products. I'm using a few dies from the Visible Image spring release, which is a new for Visible Image. They are now creating some dies. And then I'm also using the Butterfly Effect stamp set. The dies that I'm using are called Framed Fibres and Torn Fishnet. And again, the stamp set is called Butterfly Effect. It's a 6x8 stamp set, and it's got this really big, beautiful butterfly on it. And it's super easy to cut out and color. And so it's just a beautiful image, and so that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to color this with Tombow, so I've stamped this up on a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock using some black VersaFine Onyx black ink, and I'm using Tombow's. I started out with 379 and 373, and I have put the darker color in the center and then the lighter color kind of on the outside. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of flicking with my paintbrush and some water to get that color to move out a little bit. And then on the outside of the wings, I'm using, I believe it's N75. It's one of the darker gray colors in the Tombows. And I'm just going to put that on the outside of the wings and then move that towards the color. And then I wanted a little bit more blue, and so I grabbed 555, and I'm going to follow the same process. I'm just kind of flicking that color outwards from the center out, and then I'm going to take my water brush and move that color out again and kind of blend that with that more teal color. And then I went ahead and I stamped the image once more and fussy cut both of those images out. And I'm going to take some liquid glue and adhere those two pieces together just to give it a little more thickness, because what I'm going to do with this, it's going to require it not to be too flimsy. And Bristol is a good weight, but I just wanted to make it a little bit thicker. So I did go ahead and adhere that to another piece of cardstock. And then I set my stamping block on there to get that to dry. And then I'm going to use some Nuvo Morning Dew drops, and I'm just adding a little bit to the wings, and then I'm going to take a paintbrush and spread that out. This is going to act like glue, and so I am taking some microfine glitter, and I'm going to take my little spoon, and I didn't want to spread it over the entire area and get too much glitter on there, which is why I'm using a spoon. You can even take your fingers and kind of pinch it and add it as well. And I went ahead and did that for the entire butterfly, and it gives us a really pretty sparkly effect. And then I'm going to cut my die cut pieces. I have cut the framed fibers die twice, so I have two pieces for that. And then for the torn fishnet die, I have just cut that once. And I have used Bristol Smooth cardstock for all of this. It wasn't really necessary, but my plan was different, and then it changed. And so you can see here I have a panel, and I also have that fishnet, and I have sprinkled some PIXIE powders on both of those, and I'm activating those powders with water. The powders that I use are Midnight Sky, Silver Dream, White Pearl, and Teal Wash. I did not end up liking the background though, and so I'll show you what I'm going to do instead of that. But for the framed fibers die, I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and cut these down the middle so that I have 4 pieces instead of 2. And like I mentioned, I didn't end up liking the solid background, but I am going to go ahead and still use the torn fishnet that I colored with the PIXIE powders. And I think the easiest way to color, or to, adhere a die like this is with Artist Tack. It's one of my favorite things to use for more intricate dies and dies that would require lots of glue. And it's basically little tiny dots of glue, and you just set that between the papers and burnish it and then stick it on your whatever you're sticking it on. And in this case, I stuck this to a piece of cardstock that is 5 3/4 by 4.5. I also went ahead and I decided to use some of the little smaller butterflies from that same stamp set, so I went ahead and colored those with my Tombows. And then for that fibers die, I'm cutting the border off of one of the pieces and leaving the border on the other. So the piece that I'm cutting right now is actually going to go underneath the die cut with the border. And by border, I mean there's a little thin strip of white on 3 sides where I cut that die cut in half. And I needed something to be able to adhere the pieces. And so in particular, the first piece mainly, I wanted to make sure that white border was still there so that I could add the glue to it. And all I'm doing is I'm kind of just rolling the edges up so that what's going to happen is the butterfly is going to sit on top of the edges of this. And so I'm going to repeat the process. It's going to be the same on each side. I added a little bit of glue just to that thin white border on that, and then I'm going to just adhere that piece. I'm not laying it flat. And so that you have the one piece that's rolled up, and then on the piece that I'm putting underneath that, I added a little bit of glue to the ends of that as well, so that just the end is attached, and then that a die cut is going to be rolled up into the air. And I am using accent opaque white cardstock. I believe it's 110 pounds, maybe 120. So it's a really good weight for being able to stay or keep its shape. But I did add a few foam dots just to make sure that it didn't flatten out. And then if I was going to do this again, I would probably have the foresight to add this little strip of paper. So I'm adding a little thin strip of paper to the top of the Fibres die cut just to be able to adhere that butterfly, because like I mentioned, the butterfly is going to kind of sit on top. My idea for this was kind of to make it like a butterfly rising, I guess, kind of like a phoenix rising, which is why I started out with a really dark background, but I didn't like the way it looked, so that's why I changed that up. But I kind of wanted the die to look like it was holding or having the butterfly come up out of this area, I guess. And it took a little finagling to get that butterfly to sit how I wanted it on top of that. But I think it looks pretty cool. And then I'm going to take the little butterflies and I'm going to add them around the kind of the platform or the base of this. Some of them I add in actually on the inside under that main butterfly. And then to finish the card off, I will add a sentiment that says one of a kind, and I'm also going to add a few of the little jewels. And I guess this could do without a sentiment probably, but I just felt it was missing something without it. I wanted it to say something, and so I went ahead and glued that down. But that is the project. I hope you like this. Will make a really fun addition to my craft room, and just something maybe that will inspire me when I'm kind of in a frump, and just something that'll make me happy when I look at it. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did like this video or find it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. As always, I thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me, and I hope to see you next time.